Hello, this is my Japanese mini truck. It's a Suzuki 1989 DB71T carry. It's my workhorse out here on the farm. And about a month ago, I lost the brakes in it. I had noticed they'd been getting weak for several years. I had to keep putting brake fluid in, and there were no leaks around the wheel cylinders. I kept wondering, where's it going? Well, I found out. And so I had master cylinder failure, which also leaked into the booster. And I'll show you those in a minute. So I had to disassemble the entire dash to get down to the brake booster and the master cylinder. That's a chore. Here's all the pieces. Here's the original master cylinder. And really, all I needed were these cup seals. But I haven't been able to find those yet. I am going to try a hydraulic store. They look standard. They look even SAE standard. Measure that way. But I cannot find the ones I need. So I'm going to try to take a look. Here's a replacement master cylinder I was able to buy online, and it absolutely matches it perfectly. I've got these pieces here from the original over in a sack. The key was trying to find the right flange and the right size to go into the brake booster. Here's the brake booster. It was a little rusty and absolutely corroded up inside. So I tried to clean it, tried to make sure that it was that I could seal it, but no matter what I did, it continued to leak. And this hole, the outside diameter of this bore is 1.5, and so that's what matches this master cylinder and the bolts. Finding one of these brake boosters is impossible, at least for me. And I've tried and tried. Hours I spent working on it and trying with no luck. So finally, I found a clutch booster, and I'll give the details later which one this is. But it's not exact, but it is very close. And I do believe I can, where there's issues, I can make the brackets fit. This one came with an adapter plate here. So I'm going to pull that adapter off and see if my new master cylinder will fit it. The one thing that I see that might be an issue already is the length of this rod. So I'm going to have to try to make sure that this length gets down here pretty close so that my adjustment will be the same. So let me get started. Okay, this isn't going to be easy. Fortunately, these two bolts, two studs, are at the right position. This is going to be in the right position, I hope. I'll have to do some measurement and make sure that I can get that center pin in the right place. The problem is on the back side, see there's a difference in spacing between these bolts. And the same is true on this one, the original. So this is the top. This is how the vacuum goes in. the same spacing of the bolts, and the narrow ones happen to be the same as the original, but the width here is a 1/2 inch wider, so I have to modify my bracket. On top of that, this should be top, then my master cylinder is not in the right position. I'm not sure that it has to be in the right position because, oh yeah, it does, because of the way the brake lines, and I don't want to rebend brake lines. So, I either flip it on its side and hope that that my hose is where it needs to be, and then that I also have enough room to drill these new bolt holes in the bracket. It's not going to be easy. Okay, part one is done. I have the master cylinder mounted to the brake booster. I wound up drilling new holes through the master cylinder using this adapter that was on it as a template. I stuck it onto the master cylinder, lined it up with the flanges, C-clamped it down on one side, drilled the other, then put a bolt through that side, drilled the other, and then cleaned them up. I used the long bolts that were in it, and because those are the ones that matched the best. You can see that even though there is a gusset on both sides, that I have gaps between my flange washers, and so those are going to work fine. Finally, the short studs I cut off and smoothed out, and so that part's good. Now the hard part, and that's drilling my bracket inside the truck so that that'll fit, and then measuring it up. Oh, by the way, ever do DIY video that has that's done in a barn has to have at least one cat. I've got another one over on the other side of the barn. So she's in here helping me right now. But there's where that goes. There's the 4 bolts. I'm going to have to enlarge them 1/4 inch toward each direction. I don't have to go up and down, that's correct, but I do have to go side to side. Well, actually to the outside. I've got to make it 1/2 inch wider. Okay, I'm about done for the day. I've made a lot of progress, but it's still a lot to go. I did get this pin that goes into the master cylinder adjusted. I needed to go 5/8 of an inch from the front of the flange. So I turned that out and locked it in. I temporarily have my CLEVIS here, and got it all the way down to where it stopped against the boss of that shaft, of that piston rod. I needed it to be 4 1/4 to the hole, or 4 1/8, I mean, and it's 4 3/4. However, if I put these 2 nuts on, and I'll put 4 nuts on that way, it comes out exact. That's less than optimum. I'd rather have that whole face against the bracket so it wouldn't slide around. But I'll tighten up, put nuts on the other side of the bracket, tighten it all up, and hope for the best, because there's not a lot I can do. And then I hope everything else will fit up. It's going to rain a whole lot tomorrow, so we'll see what I get done. Okay, so I left the last segment in there, even though I had to regroup. Where I was at, I measured that piston rod there and put it in the right spot. But to be able to I was talking about putting the nuts here and spacing it out. But being that this body is 0.3 tenths of an inch wider, deeper, whatever you want to say, than this one, that was going to make about 3/4, 7/8 of an inch in length additional, and I just didn't have the space. And you can see, come in here, my cat's back. You can see that I've slotted my mount. Didn't do a great job, but it works. And the master cylinder has to end at this point. And it's going to be close with what I've got, but we're going to give it a try now. Okay, it is late in the day, but I got it mounted. I still got lots of challenges ahead. Fortunately, these brake lines are going to go exactly where they need to be. But from my reservoir over to there, I can turn those around, or I may have to go underneath. Somehow I get the reservoir lines to it. I do have perfect play in the brake, so I'm gonna call that good. If I can just, if everything will fit up here, because I have some bolt holes here, so something's going to come right across the face of that master cylinder, and it's likely how the dash mounts in there, but I'll get her done. So we'll see what we can get done tomorrow. I got to pick up tools now. Okay, I've got it plumbed in. I've got some brackets back on. I'm a bit concerned about putting everything in there. I know the real estate is very valuable on this truck, so it's very difficult to know that I have everything routed properly. I'm disappointed in that this master cylinder was supposed to be exactly for this truck, but it actually is a reverse on the connections. I was able to swap that back one around because it's got a center bolt that holds it in place, retainer. But when I did, it ran into my vacuum hose, and I didn't want to move the vacuum hose, so yet I may have to. And so both of them are looking out the opposite direction what they were. I did put on new EPDM hose. That other was 35 years old, so it looked good, but I needed extra length anyway, and I wouldn't have felt good about going back with the old hose. Speaking of age, there's the kitty again trying to get into the picture. Okay, we are now close to the end. I have bled the brakes, and I have brakes again. I have good pedal. Note that being that this reservoir is a remote reservoir, and I didn't have anything like it, I couldn't bench bleed it. So I installed it in the vehicle and started bleeding, and with the brake lines not attached. And I thought I had it bled pretty well, attached the brake lines, and then started working on the brakes and bleeding them and pushing a little harder and harder. And then my pedal stuck on the floor, meaning that I still had air in the master cylinder. So fortunately I didn't have to remove it. And unfortunately I hadn't put the dash back in. A lot of experience of not assembling until testing. And I cracked the brake lines open again up here, started working on the master cylinder, pumping back and forth a little bit at a time, tapping on it lightly until it came free, and bled the brakes again up here at the top, and then tightened up the lines, raised the truck up, and bled the wheel cylinders again. And again, success. It all works wonderful. Next video you see will be me driving the truck. Okay, the dash is installed and tightened up, and I wanted to show that the master cylinder comes right to the back of the dash. I did have to nip out just a tiny bit of material right down in here on the dash, and there's no extra real estate, but it works. It may squeak a little bit, but if it does, I'll put a piece of material cloth behind it. But that all looks good. It's ready for assembly. Well, I had hoped that last segment of the video was going to be the end of this story. And everything worked. The master cylinder worked great. The booster worked great. I had brakes, but not very good. So I brought it back in here, put it on the lift, and decided to start looking at the pads and the shoes. I've had this little truck since 2008 and have never checked the brake pads, the shoes. And I don't use the brakes very much anyway, but as I said earlier, but they are gone. They are as thin as paper. So I got on Rock Auto. I figured at least that a 1988, 1987 Chevy Sprint, there's a Pontiac, there's a Suzuki, that all should have had about the right size shoes. I bought some, and they are, can't see that way, perfect match. Got good lining on those. There's the rear one. So that's today's project. Well, it's done now. It was a lot of work. It took quite a few hours, but I replaced the rear drum brakes, the brake shoes. I had to replace the wheel cylinders. Replace them, not quite the right word. I did on this side, and I found out that the ones from the Chevy Sprint, the Suzuki and Pontiac, they did fit, but they were the 11/16 wheel cylinder, and I couldn't get the one that was correct for the right side here. So I wound up finding the right cups, which are 13/16, and honing the old cylinders out and putting those back in. I checked the front brakes, and the pads on those must have been replaced before I got it because they're still very thick and ready to go. I bled the brakes, and they pumped up, and now they're very good. Everything's going to be great. Thank you for watching. If you have made it this far, I will try to put some part numbers down below. And thank you, and I hope this helps somebody. Okay, this is the epilogue, or the summary. It's been tested. It works great. The brakes are fantastic. I didn't know they could work so good. I don't think that booster was ever working. You can tell I live in a pretty hilly, rough area, and I need brakes to change directions when I'm going from first to reverse or reverse to first, especially in some of the tough areas that I drive in. So I don't know if we can hear we can hear the booster working in there, the vacuum booster. So that's working. That is working great. This is amazing. It's a lot of work, a lot of hours, but I use this truck a lot as well, so it was worth it for me. And I hope you all enjoyed this, and I do hope that if anybody runs in the same issue of needing to replace a vacuum booster and a master cylinder on one of these little trucks. This is the way it can be done. Thank you for watching.